Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Josh.
Just the two of us. Sly did not catch this card. We are going to still do an end of year full breakdown show next week. There's obviously no fights this weekend, so it's kind of the perfect time to look back, hand out some annual MMA Split awards. I kind of thought about doing it on this show, but to be honest, I might know what my fighter of the year picks would be, but trying to think sub of the year, knockout of the year, fight of the year, round of the year, card of the year, all this kind of stuff.
Of the year. That one's in the bank.
What's that?
Got underdog of the year. That one's in the bank.
Underdog of the year.
Yeah, well, underdog fight of the year.
Hard to top Pena in MMA. Very hard to top. Although Kambosos Jr. in boxing was a bigger underdog against Teofimo Lopez than she was against Nunes, but certainly in an MMA term, I can't think of a title changing hands with a more sizable underdog than that.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to Matt Serra, but, even Matt Serra, he was a threat. He had some skills. He clearly had, heavy enough hands.
Well, also, George St. Pierre, he wasn't the GOAT when that fight happened. He was the next guy. He was the guy that just beat Matt Hughes. But that was his first title defense. That was meant to be the start of his great reign. And it didn't happen until, obviously, he reclaimed the belt, through a whole... And even when he reclaimed the belt, it wasn't straight for the belt, was he? He had to fight for an interim title first.
I think Matt Serra was injured. They were supposed to have a straight rematch. Was it Hughes again in the interim shot?
Yeah, I think it was Hughes for the trilogy in the interim. And so when that fight ends up happening, it does eventually start the reign, but GSP wasn't the GSP that we look back on when that upset happened. He was your Izzy, your early Anderson, just the next guy who's young and he's going to be the big thing. And you're kind of...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. GSP hadn't put his legacy together, but, he had been hyped for a long time. He was hyped going into the first fight with Hughes. Sarah was a huge dog on that one. I don't know what the odds were, but it was crazy.
Yeah. But listen, I mean, we will talk about that next week. For now, we got last weekend's fights to talk about. Last card of the week of the year. Wasn't a bad card. Prelims had some really exciting moments. There were certainly some good performances throughout. A couple of exciting knockouts. Definitely a little bit of controversy that we've got to talk on, a couple of fights down. And we've got to talk about this first. We'll touch on this. We'll touch on the news after we talk about the UFC card. But just to start things off, we got to have a look at old T-Wood, because T-Wood had a rough fucking weekend. It started with him getting a Rolex, which I actually thought was one of the most ingenious bit of mental welfare from Jake Paul. Give your opponent a Rolex the day before the fight in the face-to-face, which Tyron Woodley just couldn't quite process. This is actually this great moment where Ariel Helwani asks Jake how much the watch costs, and Tyron immediately cuts him off and says, "It doesn't matter what it costs, man. He just got me a Rolex." And you can just see the gears are turning in his head where he's just like, this guy is crazy. This guy is legitimately crazy. Everyone's seen the knockout. You've seen the knockout. The 5 rounds that happened before it might be the worst fight of all time. In fact, that punch saved Jake Paul's little boxing career, because if it had petered out to an 8-round decision...
He hasn't got a boxing career.
He kind of does at this point, man.
If he fights a boxer, then that could be the start of a boxing career. But he hasn't got one right now.
I would argue this. For the average guy that is 4-0 in his boxing career, do you think that person's fought anybody with the record and history in combat sports of somebody like Tyron Woodley? Any 4-0 boxer?
Any of them have fought a wrestler with arthritis in his hands? Possibly. Look, T. Woods did not become a champion by being a skillful striker in any way, shape, or form. In fact, in terms of the stand-up game, it very much was getting backed up to the fence and just landing that right hand. Did anyone think he was going to be good at boxing? Did anyone think Ben Askren was going to be good at boxing?
I had more faith in T-Wood than I had in Ben Askren.
Yeah, I could definitely say, without a shadow of a doubt, even though boxing can be very corrupt and very weird, that the majority of 4-0 boxers have fought at least one boxer and have certainly fought people way better than T Wood. Way better.
I would say that you might be surprised how low the level might be for certain people.
I've watched a lot of this kind of stuff though, like
a
lot of the boxing that I've been to see has been, I've never been to see boxing in a stadium or anything. It'd be like fucking places like York Hall. And yeah, you see a lot of up and comers. And generally speaking, standard's not that bad. Sometimes you see ones that are a bit shit or they gas a bit early, but for the majority of them, like they're really good up and coming boxers. You will get some cans in there, some journeymen. But I mean, even watching a heavyweight fight, some like 5'9" dude for Lithuania with like a fucking beer gut for days. That dude could still scrap. Like,
yeah, I get what you mean.
I've got no interest in Jake Paul. I don't really feel bad for T Wood because the guy's getting paid to do fuck all. Fair enough.
Do you not still give credit though that you've still got not everybody has got knockout power, and T Wood, however you look at it, never knocked out like that in his entire MMA career. The kid's got power, man. The kid can land a right hand. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, 4-4-40 to me was like, yeah, that's a special athlete. It really means fuck all to me until I see him fight a boxer. So, if I don't know if they have any interest in trying to remake the Tommy Fury one, but I could give a fuck. But as long as he actually fights boxers from here on out, I don't mind you and Sly giving him a little bit of time on the podcast. Yeah. But again, as far as I'm concerned, the kid's done fuck all. So.
Well, to be honest, it sounds like he's far more interested in fighting aging welterweight UFC fighters. Nate Diaz, Masvidal, Conor McGregor. These are all the names on his list. And Masvidal's biting.
Masvidal's reaction video, yeah.
Masvidal's biting. I haven't seen his reaction video, but I've seen him text of what he basically said.
Yeah, I mean, he's like in the room in the robe, like kind of like pink purpley light on. Just I don't know. Why does anyone give a fuck?
Because they think it's easy money.
It's just like an easy thing where, yeah, he looks at it as easy money. A good way to like, I think a lot of us kind of look at Jake Paul and go, I would love to just fucking knock that twat in the face. Masvidal's kind of in a position to make that happen, but again, you know what? Fair enough. If he fights Masvidal's got really nice hands, moves well. He's an absolute beast. Again, he's on the older side, but he's still kind of arguably in his prime. T-Wood isn't. Askren wasn't. It's a reasonable step up. I would maybe even watch it.
Do you think to a certain extent as well that for somebody like T-Wood and Askren, even though they know that Jake Paul's famous, and even though they have a level of fame from their MMA career, they kind of know that these aren't necessarily the most over cross-section groups of people, and that even if you deal with the humiliation, it doesn't matter. You've got loads of money in the bank, and everyone forgets after 3 months when you're not today's news.
Yeah, like the worst they have to fear are their kids' mates maybe trying to like take a little dig at him, which I imagine to get shut down immediately. So I definitely feel like T-Wood could still knock out a child.
I feel like that.
Confidence in that. So
my confidence is going down. Like, I think I've said this to you before, but I always feel like when you get into a sport like really properly, the champion that's there at that time kind of feels like they're your champion. That's the person that like was already established when you got there, it feels like. And for me, really with MMA, T-Wood was that guy. And watching his decline, like I was one of his biggest defenders for a really long time, even through some of the boring ass fucking title defenses. I was still like, he's fighting dangerous guys, man. It's not easy to deal with Damian Maia. All right, that's just a problem nobody wants to have. Look at
nice. Wonderboy in Wonderboy's fucking prime. T-Wood, Maia, just a little kind of past where he wanted to be. If he'd had that fight like a year or two earlier, it might have been a little different.
The Darren Till
Fucking
fight,
Darren
everyone's
Till,
like,
when everyone was terrified of Till, which isn't quite how it is these days. Yeah, no, T would had some good fights. For me, I was always a little bitter that, he caught Robbie so early.
yeah, I know what you mean.
Rory and Robbie's rematch is still one of my favorite ever fights. So yeah, Lawler wasn't. I suppose Lawler was more or less the champ when I came into the sport. But for me, I never really get attached to the champions so much that way. I kind of like. I started like because Fight Pass, as much as I complain about how shit it is on Xbox, the actual like fight library though is amazing. The first thing I did when I started getting into the UFC was get that Fight Pass subscription, and I just rewatched like about 10 years worth of MMA in the space of about 3 months. It wasn't bad. That was a pretty good time.
That's a pretty damn good 3 months. Right, should we start talking about silly fights and talk about real fights? Because we had a few crackers to get through.
Man,
Derek fucking Lewis. This guy, man, is just... You put him in a smaller cage, that is just not fair. And poor Daukaus, he had nowhere to go.
Do you think the bigger cage would have made a difference?
No, but it would have bought him time.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I think Chris Daukaus had a really... You could tell that he didn't want to get hit by the right hand, and he was very aware of that. But it kind of made it very easy, particularly with the smaller cage, for Derek Lewis to just get him against the fence pretty early. And he just stood there. He tried to trade. He tried to trade with Derek Lewis. Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah, what I really thought he was going to come out, be really busy, in and out, almost look like Dillashaw fighting at like 240 pounds. Kind of the way he fights. Obviously, he was very wary of that right hand. I kind of understood the feeling out process in the first minute. And then as that started to stretch on more and more, I was like, this is not going to end well for Chris if he can't get it going. Because if he waits for them to both really settle into a rhythm, it's not going to be the best one for him. And frankly, when he was coming in, he was leaving himself kind of overextended a little bit because he was kind of in two minds about really kind of closing the distance on the final punch, the second punch in the combination, the third punch. He looked timid, he looked slow, and Derek had a pretty easy job. I know it's a smaller cage, but he did have an easier job of kind of cutting him off. Chris got glued to that fence a little too easily before the knockout. And I did like that once Derek had him pinned down, he was like, well, I've got to try and get some respect back here. Obviously, it's the wrong wrong choice with Derek Lewis, but I feel like you've made so many bad choices up to that point. And fuck it, how else are you going to get out of this situation? Because he doesn't respect you right now because you haven't earned it.
Well, I mean, I think that's what really fucked him for it, man, is that he stood there and he traded and he landed some good punches on the clinch. But Derek didn't give a fuck, man.
Yeah.
The moment that you've hit a guy with the good shots and he just makes the decision of just like, I can bum rush you. I can charge you. Nothing's going to come back at me that's going to deter me. And when I get there, you're going to be hit so fucking hard that it's not going to matter. And he crumbled him, man. He crumbled him. And, that's the scary thing with Derek Lewis is that it's not like he just winds up for this one big shot from distance. That power is there in combination. That power is there in those close inside short hook flurries. So it's not like you've just got to look out for this one fucking sniper shot coming through. Every shot is dangerous. Every punch lands can put you out. And they're going to come quickly if he's on the inside. So I was delighted because I love Derek Lewis. And I called this and I picked this. And it pretty much happened as I thought it would. He said it himself. He likes fighting in the Apex. The pressure of being in front of his own crowd and the fans and all that kind of stuff did not bring the best out of him. In that Apex, I think he's almost unbeatable. Even to the point that I think the Cyril Gann fight, if he hasn't got that extra 5 feet of space on the outside, that's a different fight potentially. Not saying
It's a
he
different fight. I don't think Guard would hate fighting in a smaller cage either, though.
he's had some
Um,
good wins in the smaller cage. He
yeah,
beat Volkov
he
in this
moves
cage.
well. He's a good counter striker, and I've said it before. I feel like the smaller cage does favor the counter striker more than anything, because it just kind of gives
Well,
you
you
more at
said that, but
bats.
we'll talk about the co-main event
Well, yeah, but
after
that's
this.
a very different. That's not counter striking. That's wrestling defense. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Yeah, look, Chris Daukaus. It was kind of a monumental rise. I was surprised to see like how good he really was. This to me feels a little bit like getting found out, but I'm willing to put it down to just kind of like, nervy headliner against a heavy hitting guy. He's got a chance to bounce back here. He's young. He's a fresh face in an aging division. He's going to have other opportunities. I'm not going to shit on him or anything, but goddamn, Derek Lewis, just fantastic. I really wish that he didn't say the thing about not wanting to fight 5 rounds because, Dana White can be petty about things sometimes.
I
But
don't think he gives a fuck when it comes to Derek Lewis. I think he looks at that guy as the easiest guy to deal with. Says yes to anybody they ask him to fight. Is happy with his pay. Brings in loads of good fans for them. Generally delivers. Fucking nice, easy to deal with guy, probably just in a day-to-day kind of format. And he's funny as fuck. Like, he says that all the
yeah, for
time, but
sure.
he's still always the main event. That's like
Oh
his
yeah, man.
fifth
Well,
main event in a row. And he's been talking about moaning about fighting 5 rounds for a while.
yeah, true. I just don't like it. And, maybe it's a good double bluff. Maybe it forces them to kind of crack open the checkbook. But I don't know. Like the guy is, destined for another title shot.
Bro,
Uh,
I think he fights Stipe next.
yeah,
Um,
I mean that be a good fight. Not a good fight for Steve. Well, Stipe's got a lot of tricks.
Stipe or Jarzinho, that's got to be the fight for me. Jarzinho, maybe I'd want him to see be on a win before you make that happen. And I don't think
Yeah,
that fight works out well for Jarzinho at all.
yeah. Well, I mean, like who the fuck else after Garn, he gets a title shot? I feel like Jones is just kind of flapping in the wind these days. Obviously, Blades would need to get that win back against Lewis. Stipe is probably going to have to take another fight before he gets the title shot. It's just it's a weird time. I think Derek Lewis, he's probably looking at a shot in the summer. I don't know if he'll even have to go through the eliminator, but I would just like it if he was more excited about it.
I think he's got a better shot of getting an immediate title shot with what he's already with that win if Francis beats Cyril.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if Francis loses to Cyril, I think you could maybe look at doing Lewis versus Ngannou. And maybe then you could look at popping Stipe straight in there because obviously Stipe's never fought Garn. Maybe John Jones. So they've got some options, but obviously some of these options are older than others. Like Stipe needs to get a fight. He is in the dying ends of his fucking career. This is his run again. He hasn't got time to sit out for another year and haggle and all the rest. He needs to be back in there because he's not. I love Stipe, and I think Stipe got a lot more love and appreciation from fans during his trilogy with DC. But he's not quite likable enough and popular enough for that to stay beyond a new champ for a year or so. People will forget.
No, for sure. Well, if Garn wins, that's not a bad shout. I think doing the Ngannou Lewis rematch, whatever happens next, be it title shot or not.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But for Daukaus, very quickly, just what we kind of felt, massive step up just a bit too quickly. Maybe the Jarzinho fight would have made more sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely one they could maybe make next. Has Josino got a win since his loss? He's
No,
on the loss, right?
he lost to. Who did he lose to? He beat Sakai. He lost to Curtis Blades, I think.
Yeah, and hang on, got the wrong Josino. This is solid podcaster. Lost a dead air from Josh. Yeah, no. So I was thinking, like, did he get the Garden loss and the Blades loss? But yeah, he had the win against Sakai before Blades. Yeah. So actually, even with the Ngannou loss, he broke it up with the win over JDS. So guy's never gone 2 losses in a row. Yeah, Biggie Boy against Daukaus. That could be a good one.
Could be a good match. Right, now let's talk about the heartbreaker, because we fucking love Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And we backed our boy to do what he always does against anyone that is an elite level. And to be honest, I kind of just felt... One, I felt the same thing I felt in the main event, that a bigger cage would have made a little bit of a difference. But even aside from that, we've seen what Wonderboy can do in that smaller cage when push comes to shove. And I kind of felt that this just looks like the moment that he's just getting a bit old, man. It's just not quite there in the same level. And obviously he's so good at the stand-up that it doesn't matter. But it's all that other stuff, you know. I was watching Josh Thompson talk about it, and just that you lose, particularly in your late 30s, that kind of like tendon strength, that sort of like, you know, kind of things that you don't necessarily think about or take for granted, that springiness. And your striking is so polished and technical that it's going to survive that, because you've got the right technique and it's conditioning and muscle memory. But things like the takedown defense, you don't necessarily get better at it the way that he used to do it. And it just felt like the Wonderboy of 3 years ago, if he fought that same Belal Muhammad, doesn't get taken down in those situations.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, for sure. I mean, you know, people don't land like those knee picks and those ankle picks on Wonderboy. They don't get those open mat takedowns usually. All credit to Belal. He is a fantastic all-round threat. But, you know, if Belal can do that, then there was no way Usman wasn't going to do a lot worse. Yeah, man. I think Wonderboy is just, you know, he had his 2 shots. He's not, I don't think he's going to get back there. And it would take a miracle, because there's just too many good wrestlers ahead of him now. It's just unfortunate. You know, when he first came into the UFC, the welterweight division, you know, you did have a lot of wrestlers, but a lot of them were very one-dimensional, and Wonderboy dispatched them. These days, there's just too many well-rounded threats. Usman, Covington, Belal. Jesus. It was a good fight from Belal, though.
Yeah, and listen, Belal did what he needed to do. He's tenacious, didn't let himself get frustrated in that early couple of minutes, particularly after things like the spinning wheel kick lands, where that can make you second guess yourself. And that's the thing about Belal. He's so mentally strong. He knows exactly what he wants to do. And even if he's out strengthed, out, you know, fighting a faster guy, more experienced guy, whatever it is, he'll grind in and he'll believe in what he does and what he's looking to do, and that he can impose his will. Great example of this is the Lyman Good fight. Lyman Good is just a fucking huge human being. And you could see for the first round, there was that intimidation of like, I'm smaller than this guy. I'm weaker than this guy. He hits harder than me. How am I going to deal with this? And he found a way by believing in himself and being tenacious and sticking with it and keeping that pace. So massive respect to Belal Muhammad. But there's an incredible stat that I saw after the fight, which is that throughout Belal Muhammad's career, he had a 29% takedown success rate. And on the weekend on Saturday, his takedown success rate was 83%. Stephen Thompson's career takedown defense was 76%. It was 17% against Belal Muhammad.
Yeah. You know, it sucks, man. You always kind of like, there are people you always kind of wanted to see touch the gold, you know, Chael Sonnen, Donald Cerrone, Wonderboy, and, you know, it just never happens. Rumble. I don't know. Yeah, I thought I'd be able to reel off thousands and thousands of names. Stuck at like
Poirier, undisputed.
Yeah, if we're going to say that, then Carlos Condit as well.
Carlos Condit, Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, Benavidez, Uriah Faber. A lot of great fighters, man.
I don't know. I'll count WEC. Didn't Faber get WEC featherweight?
He was the WEC featherweight. He was kind of their original poster boy, but it's not.
Lost it to Mike Brown, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
For Aldo, I believe, in the WEC as well.
Yeah.
But okay, taking away other promotions, if we just look at the UFC, the point is that great fighters, you know, in stacked divisions often just don't quite have enough to get that final foot over the line. It's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. It sucks.
Yeah, not everyone wants it as bad as Bisping did. And that's
also, dude, Bisping is one of the hardest fucking human beings that has ever fucking stepped foot inside of an octagon in an arena that is filled with some of the hardest human beings on the planet. What sane man, okay, is willing to fight the best fighters in the fucking world? One eye! Are you fucking kidding me? It's mental. The guy earned his title in blood, literal blood and sacrifice. That is not a path that I would recommend everybody to try and go on. And, you know, people like Bisping, people like Glover, it's just a different level of mental toughness. You know, those are the guys that would have been fucking like the last man standing as their village is getting invaded and stuff like that. And they're fucking... Did you ever play Dynasty Warriors?
No.
Oh, damn. I was going to make a really great Dynasty Warriors reference and I can't. They're the man, like the sole man on the bridge, just fucking last guy, just swinging everybody else down. Fucking axes going into him. He's still fucking slicing people down. Massive respect to Bisping. I hope that comes across as me not making it sound like he would have been an axe murderer in medieval times. It's not how I meant it to come across.
It did go 3 rounds with Silva, though. Wanderlei Silva in modern times. So, you know,
True.
Definitely worth an axe murderer.
Yeah, I'd accept that. So, it's not always easy, man. He's such a nice guy as well, and I think that probably one of the issues is that he teaches, he's doing a lot of stuff with his dojo. I just, you know, like you say, guys are a lot more well-rounded, and there are guys that are going to other gyms. They're learning as much as they can. They're finding new looks, and I don't know if he's getting that. He's getting the same looks with his dad and with Chris, and Chris has been injured.
Yeah, I mean, he gets to pick up some shit, you know, with like guys like Ryan Hall, working with like the Sarah Longo, Weidman teams, but yeah, it's probably not the same as coming up as a hungry fighter training at, say, ATT. You know, it's one of those different things. You know, coming out through like Fortis MMA, something like that. It's kind of different levels to it, and it's very, very hard to be a specialist these days. And although Wonderboy, with his athleticism, his prime, his takedown defense, probably still could survive in the game as it is today, it's just he's too old. It's amazing he's lasted this long. He's 39.
39. We're about to be 39.
39 with that style of game, and never being like the heaviest hitter, and still being able to put guys away with your hands just because you understood when to go for it. Fuck. Just, yeah, absolute legend. I love, you know, the kid doesn't miss a trick. He walks out to Tenacious D. I love everything about him. This was a bit of a heartbreaker, but I'm a big fan of Belal Muhammad as well. And I gotta say, pretty fucking just amazing that in the Apex, they had some guys shouting out like abuse to him. And also the idiots trying to get the USA chant going. I love Paul Felder's idiots. They're both from America. Fucking How are you getting that in the Apex?
Because they sell these tickets out to like exclusive fan packages, and there's always one arsehole. Get enough people in a room, one of them's going to be an arsehole. And it sounds like this guy was just a fucking arsehole. And I feel like people can become really stupid in sports. And I always have, it's kind of like this two-pronged question. It's like, surely you're not just some dumb arsehole that goes around in everyday life spouting this fucking filth out of your mouth because people just probably wouldn't talk to you. But is it a case that you just are backing your boy, or what you think you're doing is backing your boy, and so you say something that you is like, offensive to try and like rile up your guy, justified by I'm caught in the heat of the sporting moment? Or do you think it's inwardly true colors come out when you're emotionally heightened and therefore your brain isn't functioning as much? Like,
Well, yeah, definitely the second one, because even if it is the first one, like, why are you looking at two American fighters and deciding that the
one of
white one
those.
is the more American, you know? Um, I don't know. I'm really surprised that in something like the Apex, like that dude isn't tossed out and is asked like immediately. In a stadium, a football stadium, they are able sometimes to react within minutes of these things. And the cameras they've got there are so good. They're very hot and like prosecuting people and like naming and shaming. Um, okay, it's kind of embarrassing for the sport. So for it to happen at the Apex, it's just I don't know. It's a little bit like someone taking a shit in church.
Well, the only thing I'd say there is that I think the UFC particularly the commentary team did a very good job of desecrating it for what it was. Now it gets into that thing, if you don't really want to be broadcasting that in any way, shape, or form because it doesn't send a positive message out. Flip side of that is that the UFC has a very, very fucking dedicated kind of free speech preservative that they sort of adhere to with the fighters. And so I do wonder whether or not there's an element of them just absolutely trying to be as indirect, like as non what's the word I'm looking for here? They're not looking to necessarily deal with this themselves. They're kind of just saying, listen, people are going to say what they'll say. We'll call them arseholes when they're arseholes.
Oh well, like we're
Right.
politically agnostic. We're just the platform.
Yeah, which you have to kind of, if that's what you're doing, then you have to do that with the rough and the smooth. You can't just do that when it's good for you and then kind of like, change your mind on the other stuff. But then the flip side of
No,
this, if you're
I think
honest,
when it's like someone involved with the sport, coach, cornerman, trainer, pundit, commentator, and most importantly of all, fighter, then they've kind of earned that sort of freedom of speech. When it's fan to anyone
yeah.
else, that's an issue. And I feel like a lot of people want to draw a line when it was Dan Hardy crossing that line, criticizing Herb Dean in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Which, again, probably was too far. But I'd say, that is nothing compared to a fan audibly committing what is essentially a hate crime in America.
Well, I think also you touched on a good point. And the other thing I would say, just to kind of counteract my own viewpoint, is that, like you say, as a fan, you are going to an event where you agree to terms and services and certain standards of behavior. And as in any establishment, if you abuse the people that are working or performing there, you are crossing a line. And Belal Muhammad was somebody that is employed by the UFC for your entertainment, who is going out there to do his job with the bare minimum being that he deserves the respect of the people that are watching. And from that side, you could definitely say all the rest that, kick the guy out, he's being an asshole. I like the fact that Belal addressed it. It's the kind of thing
Yeah.
that you'd think maybe you win the fight, you give your usual press conference, but he puts in a great performance and he still has this straight in the back of his mind, which means that when he said that, he logged it, didn't let it affect him, but made sure that was still there, that he could bring that up because he knows it's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough dude. His family shops were all kind of like trashed during the riots in Chicago
Oh, fuck.
a few years back. And like, yeah, I think he's just kind of made his style of stuff. I just think he comes from like tough people. But yeah, real fucking classy guy. Paul Felder did a great job. Belal Muhammad did an amazing job with it.
Yeah. And can we just say as well, it is not fair for these people to align themselves with Wonderboy Thompson, who is not their fucking flag bearer. He is not part of that whole fucking shit. He looks like the most fucking apple pie southern states.
Yes, he comes from one of the Carolinas.
You know, but the guy's a top class act, and it's not fair that it's not fair that Muhammad got discredited in that way. It's also not fair that they used Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to prop up their own viewpoints and ideals.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about some fucking crime, mate. Let's talk about some daylight fucking robbery. Because for like the third time in the last 2 years, Angela Hill gets fucking screwed. Screwed. She loses the first round, but she barely wins the next two. It's not even close. Lemos gassed.
Yeah, I mean, the 30-27 blew my mind. The 29-28 is egregious. It's very wrong going that way, giving two to Lemos. 30-27, Doug Crosby. Hang your head in shame. That is abysmal. It's really kind of fucking frustrating because before this fight, I thought Amanda Lemos, if you kind of had like Weili Zhang and Jessica Andrade,
and put them together,
it was like that down at strawweight. She was like the in between on their technical ability and their power. You know, less technical than Weili, but more powerful. More technical than Andrade, but less powerful. And then, you know, she comes out and she just looks a complete mess. And I cannot believe she got a 30-27. I cannot believe she got the decision. 30-27.
Well, the problem is we hadn't seen what happened to her when she has to get past the first round. And in the first round, you could see why, because she lands that front kick. And I'm thinking it's done. I've never seen Angela Hill wobbled like that. Like, this is a matter of seconds. But Angela's fucking tough, man. She's gone to fucking war in the pocket with Andrade for multiple rounds. Like, she doesn't give a fuck. So she survives and then starts putting the pressure on. And I think Amanda Lemos probably wasn't expecting that fight to get past the first round and got a little tense and all the rest. And she doesn't have the best gas tank. And all of a sudden, she's got an Angela Hill. She's hit with one of her best shots and is still there. And really, for me, it just felt like from the second round onwards that Angela Hill was controlling the situation.
Oh, yes. I was causing more damage, I thought, clearly.
Yeah. And it's just like, you look at this fight, you look at the Michelle Waterston fight, you actually did think that Angela Hill lost, but it was razor thin. The Claudia Gadelha fight, where she definitely won that fight. It's like, for fuck's sake, is there anybody that gets screwed on split decision losses more than her and Masvidal?
Actually, yeah, they did read out that stat during the broadcast as well. Who are the other surprising ones? Kind of like the most decision losses. Oh, Jesus. Shouldn't bring up.
Split decision losses, but I think, is the... Masvidal still has the record for the most split decision losses. You know, you think Damian Maia fight comes to mind, the Ally Akinta fight down at 55. Obviously, the Wonderboy loss was unanimous, and that was pretty one-sided. But he's had a lot of those razor fucking thin. Could have gone either way. And Angela Hill's joining that club, and I know what you mean, man. It's frustrating because it's like Angela Hill didn't get the win, but at the same time, we're not talking about this emergence of this next thing at strawweight. We're really just looking at a fighter that is dangerous in the first round, gasses, got found out a little bit, and is going to squeak her way up the rankings.
Yeah, well, it's a tough division. So,
and FYI, not Amanda Lemos' fault. Not her fault not Amanda's fault that she got a decision she didn't deserve. She went out there, she fought. It's not her fault that she moves on, but always leaves a bad taste in the mouth, man. They need to get this judging right.
Yeah, and it was something of a poor performance versus, you know, what we've seen from her. This wasn't the first time she's gone to 3 rounds. You know, she had the win over Inoue. This just didn't look like a good night. Obviously, she's not going to give a fuck. She got the nod. hopefully, though, she takes this as a loss, kind of in terms of, really ramping up the training, ramping up the cardio. I think it's fine being like a power hitter and rushing in from time to time, but she hasn't got quite enough power to really just rely on like being able to put people away early or hurt them enough in the first round. She needs to pace herself a little bit more. Hopefully that forces a bit more technique out of her as well. But I just see a lot wrong with Lemos, and I was pretty hyped up when I'm coming into this. And yeah, you make a point with a bitter taste. It kind of pisses me off that Angie didn't get this one, even though I think I did pick against her.
I picked against her.
Lemos in this.
But I still wanted Angela to win. Just didn't think that she would. How
did you do picks this week?
Not well.
Sorry.
Not well. The main card was quite devastating for me. I'm not going to lie. It was one of the most devastating. I mean, I got the main one right. Thompson I got wrong. Amanda I got right. I got Sun Sao versus Ricky Simone dead fucking wrong. The Sun Sao's old, man. He's another one that needs to. It's time for him to hang up the boots. He just got out fucking dogged in this fight, and then the knockout. I know he'll feel it's a little early, but he was out.
Oh yeah, man. Shit. Excuse me. Do you want to say anything more on Angie and Amanda, or just move on here?
Nah, I've said everything I want to say on that.
Yeah, Ricky Simon. I really thought that the wrestling was going to present issues for Sun Sao. Kind of the power athleticism might kind of help him push the pace, keep busy. I didn't really see it playing out like this. You were kind of cautiously saying you didn't think Sun Sao was done. I think that was fair to say. It's hard to really kind of put an expiration date on athletes, but yeah, he didn't look great out there. Shit, I'm glad I picked Simon. I didn't get the method right. I went decision all day, but this is a nice performance from him. And the guy's got some good wins. He's got the win over Davishvili, Uriah Faber, one I could really give a fuck about. He lost.
He lost to Uriah Faber.
No, I'm saying it's just like one of them fluke things though. It was up at 45 as well, right?
Yeah.
So really, it's just kind of the loss against Rob Font. Yeah.
He's a problem because we talked about this a lot of bantamweight. You've not got a lot of wrestlers. And him and Dashvili are the only guys that are going to present that problem, which means that a lot of the people that are ranked at the moment haven't had to deal with that problem to get to where they are. And it changes things. And the difference with Ricky is he hasn't quite got that same explosive wrestling power as Dashvili, but he can box more. He's got hands. He's got knockout power. He can mix it up. And mate, he's got the fucking mullet, man. I mean, that mullet should strike fear into the heart of every single man weighing 135 pounds on a fight night.
I used to feel that way about Douglas Andrade Silva's like mohawk. It's while they're young, they can get away with his hair. They can be the Samson.
Make the most of it while you can.
Always.
All
right.
Gamrot versus Ferreira. I got this one right, actually. I picked Gamrot. Very dissatisfying, though, because I thought Diego was looking pretty damn good in this fight. And then something happened, man. Rib injury.
Oh, yeah. You read what he said about it. He had hurt his rib. Just caught him just right. I remember Victor actually telling me that when you throw these knees, to kind of like push out on the side with them, because it just gives you a better opportunity to break ribs. And it just worked perfectly. I kind of called how the fight was going to go up until that point, though. I didn't know that Gamrot was going to be like faster and stronger in the scrambles, and this was going to be a scramble heavy fight. Bahia made it a really fun fucking fight, though. He looked good on the feet, all things considered. He hasn't got the most fluid style, because the guy knows what he's doing. And everything kind of has a purpose to it. Everything's like a means to an end. He can look very fucking good on the feet. I really wish we'd seen more of this fight.
Yeah, it felt like it was really just starting to cook up, and then it was just over.
It's a great knee, though. How did you feel about the whole stoppage with Herzog?
Listen, man, I don't think there was any complaints from Flair. He was just like, I'm done. Stop, something's wrong. I wish Herb Dean reacted on it. It was Herb Dean, wasn't it?
No, it was Jason Herzog.
Oh, Jason Herzog. Ideally, maybe you'd want to pick on it a little bit quicker, because obviously he tried to lock in the rear naked choke, and then they kind of had to sort of say that it's already done. But in the same way, you can't just stop a fight because you see a kind of momentary pause from a guy. It's a big thing to.
A lot of people are saying that apparently he was saying, it's not good. I'm hurt. I'm done. I thought Herzog was checking on him after the reaction, and he was saying, "No, I'm okay." But I've seen a lot of people slating Herzog online, kind of reading it with the view that he basically audibly tapped, said to the ref, "I can't carry on," and then the ref let him take a couple more shots and essentially have his back taken fully and have the choke all but sunk in. So for me, I kind of didn't really see it as like a huge error or mistake. And, the fight got stopped when it needs to get stopped. But, because I haven't seen Fahea coming out and just shitting all over Herzog on this, I got to assume he was kind of in two minds after like that knee lands. I really, in the moment, thought it was him saying to Herzog, like, I can continue. And then immediately being like, no, shit, I can't continue.
The thing is, though, even let's say that he did say I can't continue and he wasn't okay. I can still forgive a ref. That's a very unexpected situation. And it wasn't very clear to Herzog what had happened. So, yes, he didn't really take a couple of extra shots. It was a couple of shots and then he went for the choke. So, yeah, you don't want to see that happen in an ideal world. But if there had been a miscommunication and Herzog had stopped the fight immediately, and then Ferreira just looked at him like, what the fuck are you doing? I think that's the thing that I would have been more upset about to a certain extent. And so this isn't like, I don't know, I just have a lot of, I can understand that in a situation that you're not quite expecting and you're not 100% sure on, you want to just take a couple of moments to process and see what's going on. And it's not like he just waved it on and said, okay, I guess we're just continuing, and then let him tap out again. He kind of saw that it would happen, processed everything, and was just like, no, okay, we stop, it's done. So, no, I don't have an issue with that. And I think Herzog is out consistently one of the best refs in the UFC.
Yeah, again, one of the most used ones over the last year, along with Herb Dean and I think probably Mark Smith.
No, I'm a
we have got some good refs, which is good because Herb does seem to be slipping
a little bit, but hopefully he can pull it back. Listen, Gamrot moves on. Did what he had to. It's not his fault that a guy got injured. Certainly had his moments as well. Watch this space is what I'd say on that one. Let's talk about two legends.
Years were rolled back.
I feel like I kind of called this one because I said that I wasn't as excited because I think that Cub Swanson is just going to go through him. And I wasn't wrong about that. Like, Darren Elkins can take some damage, but in the Apex, the way that they're stopping fights at the moment, fighter safety coming a bit first, and the fact that Cub hits so hard, I just thought it was just a couple of degrees more than he was going to be able to handle to do his usual surviving that early barrage.
Yeah.
Was right.
Oh, shit, man. And fucking that Superman hook from Cub, loving that. Absolutely loving that.
That was pretty sick.
See anything on that side. Like, it was like his left eye was shut down. It was almost like he was a little Bisping out there. Cub was just coming in with that right hook. What a performance.
He had his whole family there. He got to have the nice win, and the kids all got to see him and all the rest. Technically, Win ends it with a spinning wheel kick to the face as well, which only just clipped him, and he was pretty wobbled already. But you want to talk about a potentially early stoppage? That's one where the ref stopped it, and then it turned out to be a good decision 3 seconds later, because the kick doesn't really land. And if he stopped it and then fucking Darren Elkins started screaming, what the fuck are you doing? You look like an idiot. Very fortunately for you, what happened is he fell over and couldn't really stand up a couple of times after. So the decision was made to look very good. But got a little lucky there. Could have waited a couple more seconds before you stopped it. But again, you don't want to see guys take unnecessary damage. Do I think Elkins could have pulled off his usual magic trick against Cub? Probably not on Saturday. Probably not. Would have been a tall order. Cub's still the man, dude. He's still a top level fighter. He might be older, but he can still beat a lot of really good guys.
Yeah. Although, man, I gotta be honest, like having the family cage side and everything, I do wonder if in his head, in his heart, his mind, he does know it's probably like one or two more. Well, I mean, he's transitioning into the coaching as well. Yeah, I guess I'm ready to let Cobb go. I guess I'm ready. But it's been an absolute honor watching his fights. There's probably not a lot left in the tank there.
I'm happy to see him still have a few more fights as long as we're not booking him against Giga Chikadze.
No.
Don't do that.
Wow.
These older guys.
He hasn't got enough fights left in him to get up that high in the rankings.
No, but they already fought, and we saw how that worked.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm alluding to. Is just understand where his level is.
Yeah. He's not going to get that one back. Shouldn't want to get that one back. And obviously, we've got to wait a few weeks for it. But Chikadze's up on deck is the next one coming up. Okay, Chikadze. That's a pretty exciting.
That's going to be fucking awesome. Let's look at these prelims. We'll go through them a little bit more quickly, touching on what needs to be touched on. GM3. He made this hard fucking work, but gets the job done in round 3. Looks knackered. Didn't look like he had a hope in hell of pulling it out the bag. And then he pulled it out the bag.
Yeah. He's kind of like a Gary Lineker. He doesn't score a lot of pretty goals, but he does score a lot of goals. I don't know. I don't know how much I even really want to talk about this fight. I'm glad I picked GM3 by sub. Came through for me. I kind of feel like I broke the curse. Usually if I pick GM3, he loses. I pick against him, he wins. Finally, we both got on the same page. We both knew that Stoltzfus wasn't getting out of this one alive. Well.
He was so frustrated, man.
Yeah.
Dustin looked devastated. He just knew what I just got in the wrong spot. And fair play to GM3. That's 3 wins in a row where he's had to come back from some adversity to do it. So nothing but credit. I know what you really want to talk about, though. You want to talk about the first man to ever miss weight at heavyweight. Of course you do.
Yeah, a little bit.
267. Made no attempt to re-weigh in.
Yeah. I mean, out of all the people that you would have thought might have missed weight, Brock Lesnar, Francis Ngannou, but fucking Justin Taffer. and even out of like the big guys, you would have expected this kind of behavior out of like a Cabbage or a Roy Nelson or something, or a Derek Lewis maybe back in the day. But Justin Taffer, I thought he was better than that, man.
He missed by a pound. Like, at that weight, it can't be that difficult to lose a pound. Just go for a jog around the block.
Well, here's the thing, though. I guess
walk up some stairs.
They just weren't looking at the scales leading up to it. But if he hadn't done any kind of water flush or anything in preparation, then he probably was just walking around more or less at that weight. How did he make any kind of attempt to cut at all on the day? Do you know, or was he literally just rolled out of bed, step on the scale?
What he said is that obviously he's New Zealand, and I don't think he's been able to train. I think he literally just flew out for the fight, so I don't think he had any preparation, which is still understandable. But it's like, if I'd understand that more if you're like 7 pounds off. And it's like, mate, what can I do? I'm fucked. I came off the sofa. You wanted me to fill in. I'm here. Let's go. But when you're a pound off, it's like, oh, come on, dude. You could literally, there's a skipping rope, mate. Well, just skip for 10 minutes. It will come off.
Yeah. No, not even that. Just put some bin bags on for £1, and you got water in your body. You just walk around in some bin bags. 10, 20 minutes, you should be all right.
Go for a piss. There's so many. It's just The good news is that he fucking won in spectacular fashion. So, I mean, he stopped a lot of the egg on his face from landing. And that kick, man,
Yeah.
that was blocked with two
Oh,
hands.
yeah.
Two hands. And it still knocked the motherfucker out. And he didn't know where the fuck he was. He was just like, what the fuck just happened? Everything was right. The hands were up. They hit the hands. I remember that. And I'm on the ground. What's going on?
You know what? It's not always about not getting hit. It's about not getting shook. The flash knockouts for the worst concussions come from a rapid change of direction. And you don't always need to get the immediate impact there to get that bruising going. Fucking brutal. So, this is going to be a weird like pub quiz trivia question in years to come. You know, the only first heavyweight in the UFC to miss weight. No one will remember him for that, but we will remember him for some fun scraps. And he made fucking easy work at Hunsucker, so fair play.
Yeah, Hunsucker's had a rough ride in the UFC, though. He's had to fight Justin Tafa and Tai Tuivasa. He does not do well with Polynesian island motherfuckers coming into a cage and kicking him.
Oh, actually, and his Contender Series appearance was Van der Rohe, so I know exactly
poor fucker. Yeah. Justin Tafa marches on.
I think you know, he's going to do well with like Tafa's share of the winnings. So
that's true.
Not
because Merry Christmas that way, I suppose. Melissa Gatto, very impressive liver kick in the third round. Kind of survived the onslaught of the first round. And listen, I didn't really rate Melissa Gatto, but she impressed me.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we were way higher on Sarge coming into this one. I guess we kind of overlooked Gatto a little bit. I think Eubanks' weight issues kind of lead to cardio issues. She's just, she really doesn't know what division she wants to commit to, I feel, because she's not doing enough to kind of maintain, you know, being at flyweight. And if you're going to be like, you know, the kind of fighter that she is in flyweight, you want a good gas tank. You want to be a large, swarming, smothering kind of style. And I don't know. I just don't know if it's her heart's not in it, or if it's just physically not really possible, or she's just trying to come in too big. But yeah, Gatto looked good. I'm tempted to say more than anything, Eubanks looked bad. Obviously, a liver kick like that just shuts you down. Is what it is. No shame in the finish. But I really feel like, you know, as good as Gatto might be, I thought Sarge, if she had her shit together, should just kind of be controlling girls like this. I wonder how long she's going to be sticking around in the UFC if she can't make it fucking work at bantamweight, because this is a lot of weight misses at flyweight. I think she's only made weight once, right?
Did she miss weight for this fight?
Yeah, she missed weight for this one, I'm pretty sure.
Fuck, come on, Sarge.
Not by a lot, but it's like a perpetual thing. And didn't she lose the title shot for the tough finale to Montano because of weight cutting issues? Isn't that why Roxy came in, or was it something else?
Yeah, I think something like that. There was a whole bunch of shit when they tried to do that flyweight belt.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, listen, the only thing I'd say in Gatto's kind of to prop her up a little bit is that if you're fighting somebody that physically, athletically powerful, that you know is most dangerous in the first round, I thought she did a good job of surviving that. I did think the liver kick was a crotch shot, I'm not going to lie. I was pretty sure it was a crotch shot, and then you saw it land and you're just like, damn, that's nasty. Hey, she got the win. Fair play to her. Fair play as well to Charles Jourdain, who did kind of what I thought he was going to do. Struggle a little in the first round and then just wear down Andre Ewell with creativity, violence, offense, and just a complete and utter dedication to winning.
You talk about putting a stamp on it.
Yeah, that body kick
at the end. Down at the end. Man, I did think Jourdain was going to get a knockout, but I will settle for heavy one-sided domination. And fucking balls on this kid fighting out his contract. I'd like to see him stay in the UFC. I hope he's going to stay with the UFC. But this dude could probably make some money in some other places. I don't think he's necessarily testing out free agency. I think he was just trying to get like a big win before he went back to the negotiation table.
He was moving up to featherweight, which we didn't really address on the pick show. And he probably thought to himself, all my cardio issues will go away. I'll be able to be a better fighter, and I'm going to put a big stamp with a new contract, me at featherweight. And it hasn't worked out like that.
So, has Jourdain's always been a featherweight, hasn't he? It was Yule who's moving up from bantamweight.
Yeah, Yule's the one. I thought Yule's the one who was on the end of his contract.
Oh, Yule might also be on the end of his contract, but Jourdain definitely was at the end of his contract.
Ah, shit, I didn't realize Jourdain was on the end of his contract.
Yeah, no, I was fighting out his contract on this one. Yeah, I mean, fair play. I think he's going to have some big money offers to take back to the UFC, kind of if you can't top this, then you've really got to kind of make me some assurances. I'm going to have some big fights next year or something.
Hey, listen, I don't think that's a bad move.
Yeah, he's an exciting guy.
I don't think he should have done it publicly because I don't think the UFC like that. But I think the idea of backing yourself to have a great performance on the last fight of your contract is not the worst idea. And he's great fun, man. I love his attitude. I love his creativity. He'll lose a few fights as well in his career, but he's always going to be entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, put it this way. I think the guy would have to kind of drop down to Cage Warriors LFA kind of level to be a champion. But this guy can be a top 10 guy in most of the major organizations. And, this guy would get paid well fighting in Bellator, One FC, even Eagle FC, or what's Pettis' one coming up? Showtime. I don't think he's pumping the same kind of money into the contracts, but anything with the Fight Pass subscription money, probably going to be a good shout.
We'll see what happens. I'm going to watch him fight whatever promotion he's in. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Let's run through the rest of the fights. Raquel Pennington. She's a beast, man. Got in her face, kept it ugly. Yep. Did not see that submission coming, but it just felt like Macy, you called it, man, was just out of her depth.
Yeah, she's only really good going forward. It's not something that can't be fixed, but like I said, even up the weight at 45, I thought Pennington was going to carry a lot of strength over. She it looked fucking good. It was a weird submission as well.
It didn't look like it was in.
Nice. I don't think it. I've seen a guy. What the UFC recorder has. Guillotine, choking, clinch. I think I heard her say something like it was like a 10-finger choke or something. Same one she got tape with. Kind of looked a little bit to me like the bear claw one that Ben. I forgot his name. Big Ben Rothwell. Ben Rothwell got on Josh Barnett. You remember that?
Chris Barnett.
No. Against Josh Barnett.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, it was still the Reebok era of UFC. It wasn't too far back in the day, but yeah. I think it was one of Barnett's last fights before he got fucked on the suspension. And Rothwell was like a big win for him. I think that kind of led into the JDS fight that he lost, kind of, when he was sort of peaking in the rankings. But yeah, it was a weird submission. I don't know enough about it. I was hoping if I threw it out there, you might have read a little bit more about it. You could come and say today on that one.
Sorry, man.
Weird submission,
no help.
But it fucking speaks to the versatility of Pennington.
Yeah.
I mean, taking a fight against a fighter as big as Kiasun at 45. Coming in and handling your business like that, being so strong, having a good game plan, and then snatching a weird ass submission like that. Yeah, big splash.
Well, so I think in the end, like you say, Macy couldn't fight well backwards, and Pennington loves being in your face, in the clinch, landing dirty boxing shots. And there was nothing that came back at her that discouraged her enough from doing that. So fair play. Dontel Mays destroyed Josh Parisian. No other way to say it. Complete domination. Jordan Levitt, another good submission. Looking dangerous. Didn't really rate Matt Sales before that, but that's a good win for Jordan Levitt, bouncing back after his first career defeat. Good card. Yeah,
apparently third inverted triangle in UFC history. I can't think what the other two were. The only inverted triangle I can think of is the guy that beat Masvidal in the Bellator Grand Prix.
Oh, fuck yeah, I know the
when
one you're talking
Eddie
about.
Alvarez first took the belt, that tournament. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. Anyway,
KJ
called
Nunes?
submission. No,
No, it's not KJ Nunes.
it's nope. I don't want to look it up at this stage. Sly's not here. He should be looking shit up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he can't
Well,
be
listen,
bothered watching it,
that's a badge of approval for Jordan Levitt to take away. Always nice when you're one of the first or only 3 or 4 people to do something.
yeah, good to be special.
Absolutely. Let's look at a little bit of news, and there's only one thing that we can really talk about because it's the only news I want to talk about. What the fuck is Chael Sonnen doing? Getting himself in some trouble. Did we talk about this last week? Don't think we did.
No, I think it happened um, after the event, didn't it? We've texted about it a little bit. The details are slowly pouring out, but what I understand so far is the chair was like banging on someone's hotel room door. I don't know why yet. I'm not sure that information's out there. May well be. I've had work all day, and Chael ended up basically kind of manhandling 5 different people. And I don't even know if it was Chael Sonnen's fault. I don't think he was actually officially kind of arrested. I think he's just been charged with kind of, or yeah, probably charged at this stage with 5 different incidents of like assault, all of which he's free to contest, I believe. So I'm pretty sure the police were kind of just separating him and very much just taking statements. I don't know if it was like a full fucking brawl. It's crazy to me that in America you can get like 5 separate, because they've got such a litigious culture. You'd have to have the 5 separate incidents of assault. Whereas in the UK, I think if it's more than 2, it's just a fray. It's just you committed a fray. Doesn't matter how many there were. It's fucking a fray, mate. So,
Well,
just
that's
blows
also
my
cool.
mind.
They do that in Texas as well, though, man, where let's say 3 people rob a bank and one of these people shoots them. Every single person in the party gets put with a murder charge, but they also get put with each other's murder charge. So each one man is facing 3 different counts of murder charge.
Yeah, I remember that from that Pacino De Niro movie, Heat.
Yeah, I remember seeing it.
When he shoots the guy and they're like, well, now it's like a felony murder charge, so there's no point sparing the others. They just take them all out.
Yeah. They're already fucked at that point. I also remember it. There was a guy, Werner Herzog used to do this documentary about talking to people on death row. And one of the people,
yeah, it's sick. And they did like the standalone movie as well, Into the Abyss.
I never saw Into the Abyss.
It's like the best part of it, basically. It's why they made it into like instead of doing like the documentary series thing, it was like an actual like. I mean, I don't want to say it was like a theatrical release or something, but it's marketed as an own standalone kind of piece. It's not really part of the series.
Okay, I'll check that out. But yeah, one of the guys got screwed in this basically, and that's why he was on death row. It was just kind of tragic because he had no intention of killing anybody. He never killed anybody, and I think eventually he got executed.
So America's brutal.
Rough situation. As soon as I heard this, I kind of felt like there's going to be a reasonable explanation, which maybe is just my fandom speaking. But the difference between Chael Sonnen and John Jones getting in these situations is that like, who are we kidding here? It's not like Chael Sonnen's ever walked around actually thinking that he's like some badass guy on the street. He knows what he is, and he just doesn't come across as somebody that would like unnecessarily start fights. He seems like somebody that if somebody tried to square up to him, he would deal with that person accordingly. But I just don't think he's starting any trouble. He probably had maybe an argument with his wife or a friend or something like that, was banging on the door. Some other guy decided that they were going to be an asshole, and that what led to a small altercation. Yeah. That would be my guess.
It could easily be breaking up like a party or like that post-party sesh, and them just being disrespectful. It could be a lot of things.
He doesn't even really drink that much, does he? He's not like... He's fucking like straight-laced as straight-laced fucking gets.
Kinda. Although, I hope he was lying about this. I do remember him saying on his podcast years and years ago So like he hadn't had like a glass of water until he was like in his 20s. He would always drink like Gatorade or Coke or like it was always like a fizzy drink, a carbonated drink, some kind of just it wasn't water basically. And I don't care how things are marketed to you and electrolytes and shit like that. Yeah, it can be great, especially post recovery. You do need a lot of water. Like most of what you're drinking should be water. Just end of.
Have you seen Idiocracy?
Is that the one? No, I'm thinking of the religion one. No, I haven't seen Idiocracy.
So Luke Wilson gets cryogenically frozen. It's part of an experiment because they figure out that he's basically the most average human being there is in terms of like physical build, intelligence. But what happens is while he's frozen in this experiment, they forget about him and the world becomes dumber and dumber and dumber as basically more idiots have sex and have loads of kids, and smart people keep finding like intellectual reasons why it's not a good idea for them to have kids. So basically he gets unfrozen in a world where everyone is an absolute fucking moron. And so he is now the most intelligent person left on the planet. And they basically unfreeze him so that he can fix everything. But there's a scene where they can't understand why their crops aren't growing. And he's looking around and they sort of show him the irrigation. And this like weird colored liquid comes out. And he's like, this isn't water, guys. It's like, yeah, no, it's Gatorade. Hydrate's better than water. And he's just like, you've been trying to give the plants. It's just like, well, water's not as good. We have Gatorade, so it hydrates better than water. Made perfect sense.
I'll go check that out. I don't know why. I when we said Idiocracy, what popped into my head was Religulous.
Oh, the Bill Maher documentary.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought that was called Idiocracy, but
I can understand the confusion. Honestly, mate, the movie's got to be watched just for the fact that Terry Crews is the former porn star president who starts all of his addresses with a machine gun fire. It's fucking brilliant. It's so ridiculous. It's a fun movie. Movie.
We should do some a bit of movie chat next week as well.
That's a strong point.
And stuff. I'd like to talk a little bit about The Last Duel. Me and Kate watched that the other day.
Oh, I've heard really good things.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. We can even break down The Witcher a little bit. I'm sure you would have watched all of season 2 by then.
Probably. Try and watch Arcane as well as you can. 9 episodes of absolute fucking animated glory.
Well, I'm off from 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, and Kate's back in the UK very early Thursday morning. So I'm going to just be able to watch all this shit that I've got on my watch list. It's going to be a good few days.
Nice. Final bit of news just to talk about. Dana White's finally saying that Esparza Rose 2 is going to be next for the strawweight title.
Thank God.
Good news there. And on that note, guys, we're going to call it quits for this episode. Thanks a lot for watching. Click the like and subscribe button. Merry Christmas. We'll be back next week for our end of year review.
Merry Christmas, Laurie.
Merry Christmas, Trifo. Guys, thanks for watching. Take care.